Time now for our Key High Coach Conversation, brought to you by New Albin Savings Bank. We're here with head coach Chad Winters. And Coach, played Springville last week. First time in a few weeks you didn't have to make a 2+ hour, 3+ hour bus ride. Good ball game heading into the fourth quarter. Springville ended up outscoring you in the fourth. What'd you take away from last Friday night?
Boys battled hard. They really did fight hard. The final score, probably people looked at it and said we got beat by 20. That game was touch and go late into the fourth quarter. We did dig ourselves in a little bit of a hole. We were down 30-8 early third quarter. They fought back. We put ourselves in position where it was 38-30, our ball, a little over 6 minutes to go. Ended up fumbling it. They scored shortly thereafter to make it 44-30. We hit a big 45, 50-yard touchdown pass that actually ended up getting called back for offensive pass interference. And we had all three timeouts in our back pocket at that point. It would have been 44, 36, 38 with a little over 4 minutes to go. But that penalty was a backbreaker, and that kind of sealed it after we couldn't get the first down after that. Well,
one thing we've known out of your team the last couple of weeks, you got a bunch of fighters on this squad, don't you?
We do. They in the past, we haven't always stepped up and responded. Last couple of weeks, we really have. So that's encouraging to see continue to make strides. I thought we did a good job of controlling the ball, controlling the line of scrimmage, ran downhill at them. The guys up front, so 3 senior linemen, along with Alex Getzinger, our ends that were in there blocking. They did a good job of moving the chains for us. I mean, the ball game was 4 plays at a time is kind of how we wanted it. And you gain 2.5 yards, you move the chains, you get another set of downs, and you try to do it again, and you try to do it again. So.
And Damon Weber, another great night for him, 122 yards, 3 touchdowns rushing, 10.5 tackles, including 7 solos on the defensive side of the ball. He's getting it done on both sides, isn't he?
Yep. Continuing to evolve. Played a real good defensive game. Ran the ball really well. Passing game still needs to continue to evolve a little bit, but definitely making taking steps forward in that regard, in regard to his overall game.
And this week, a trip down to Don Bosco, a program that from a success standpoint over the past decade has kind of really set the standard in 8-man football. What about this year's edition of the Dons impresses you the most?
When you look at what they do, they're coming off a very competitive game with Easton Valley Friday night. I think it was 32-28 at halftime. Ended up being 54-34. Easton Valley had a couple 4th down conversions that fell on tape. It looked less than a foot short. That were big tide turners in the second half that kind of helped Don Bosco spread it out. Starts and stops with Cale Frost and the Tennell twins. I mean, those are the 3 guys that they put back in there. We call it their 6 series set because that's what we call it. But shotgun split backs essentially, and it's Frost left, Frost right, Tennell left, Tennell right, and if you don't stop it, it's a long night. And he had 40 carries and 300+ yards on Friday night against Easton Valley. So he can throw the ball too on top of that. So you got to be ready, and you got to know what you're doing defensively, and you can't miss tackles.
And is it one of those things where you look at what they do schematically, it's a pretty simple stuff, they just execute it really, really well? Is that a fair way to put it?
That is a very fair way to put it. I mean, we know what they're going to do. They do different things out of different sets, obviously, like everybody does. But you still got to stop it. And if you don't execute and you're not gap sound and you don't bring your arms and legs when you tackle, it's a long night against those guys, because like they've been the premier 8-man program over the last decade. And this team's no different this year than what it was as a state championship team last year.
And what are the main things you want to see out of your team come Friday night as you get ready for the postseason next week?
I want to see us continue to show some growth at the line of scrimmage. You don't want to line up and play 60, 70 plays of defense against Don Bosco, right? You want to chew that clock up, try to manufacture some first downs. Backs continue to run hard. Like I said earlier, you got games within the game, and that four play to get 10 yards. You need to do that. You need to keep the chains moving. We did have too many turnovers Friday night that did come back to bite us against Springville. We got to make sure that we get that cleaned up. Penalty wise, you can't find yourself in a 1st and 15, 1st and 20 situation against those guys because it's just so much harder to get where you need to be. So those are the kind of things that I'm looking for. We need to come through healthy too, obviously, because the real season starts next Friday night, and we need everybody available that we can have available at that time.
All right, Coach, keep your kids healthy. We wish you best of luck this week.
All right. Thanks, Darren. I appreciate it.
Our Key High Coach Conversation brought to you by New Albin Savings Bank.